guys, I am Vitold, and in this video I'm presenting all major pros and cons that I've discovered when testing a Husqvarna Norden 901 to make sure that you are aware of what to pay the most attention to when choosing your mid-size adventure motorcycle. These will be my personal opinions after having tried all currently available middleweight adventure motorcycles, so there is some perspective behind my words here. First, I'll tell you what's great about this bike, so basically why it may work well for you, and then I'll move to what you may hate about it. Then it will be your job to assess which part is more important to you. Alright then, so the first awesome thing about the Norden is its suspension comfort, and you bet that talking about comfort is in compliments is a big thing coming from me. If you check what office chair from Power Seats I'm currently sitting on, and in fact very often sitting on, it's an adjustable 7G11 that is pure gold. Everything here moves separately electrically, so definitely do check them out at powerseats.eu. Now, Norden does well with larger bumps. You can feel the smaller ones sometimes more clearly than some may wish for, but overall in my books, and comparing it to its competitors, which makes a lot of sense, it is definitely on the comfy side. The second pro is that fantastic engine coming from KTM 890 Adventure. It is super explosive when you want it, it is smooth, everything feels effortless, and to me it is a fully enjoyable experience dealing with this powertrain. It doesn't matter what RPM you're at, this thing will pull hard. Number 3 on the list of noble features is a pretty comfortable seat. It is angled forward a bit too much for my liking, which makes me slide forward onto the fuel tank, but if you find a way to deal with it somehow, it is a rather nice piece to sit on. Then we've got that fun display straight from KTM again. It is a great decision to use this, I think, benchmark in the segment, as it's very logical in terms of layout, it is easy to use, it is pleasant to look at in terms of clarity, and also includes those cool animations explaining different options that you can set just like in a KTM. Very, very nice, modern and useful. In the 5th spot, there is a thought of this Husqvarna being simply something else, something original and a fairly rare representative of perhaps even a retro style that some of you guys may like. If you like standing out in the crowd, this may be a good choice. Actually, it's retro with modern details, in fact. Next up, in the 6th place, I feel I should mention that Norden 901 handles rather good at all times and speeds. It is composed and predictable with no really weak spots. It is not perfect, but it shouldn't surprise anyone. It's really fine. And as the last 7th point, I've listed that really nice matte paint job. It gives a perhaps retro-styled bike this modern spark that I really like myself, and it just looks interesting, especially from up close. It is a matter of taste, but I personally do like it. Now to the other side of the story, so what's far from perfect or simply may not suit some types of riders, or just for some reason doesn't suit me. We're all different, these are just opinions and indications. Some of them apply to many riders, some to fewer, but having ridden them all, I base them on my comparisons. So the first point, and strong by the way, is that the engine gets extremely hot, especially on warmer days and at lower speeds. So if you ride in such conditions, you may be ending up sweaty, top to bottom every time. This may be a deal breaker to some, and it's close to being one to me, as I ride a lot in the city and I just wouldn't be able to handle being fried every single time. This requires at least one longer test ride on a warmer day. That's what I would recommend. The second thing that doesn't suit me is that this wide and generally comfortable seat makes it hard for me to reach the ground even in its lower position. I'm 1.83 meters tall, so 6 feet tall, and I usually cannot flat foot this bike. It requires me to spread my legs more than I would like to, and the seat just gets in the way of my legs trying to reach the ground. So again, if you expect to be doing a lot of start-stop riding, this may not work out perfectly for you. But if you just hop on a highway, stay there until you reach your final destination from home or from work, don't bother thinking. Next up is the third thing on my list that is more of an issue, as it's about being cramped. Specifically because of the high location of the foot pegs that are also strangely located more to the rear, causing a weird, to me, legs angle that I find uncomfortable. Definitely do try the bike yourselves, before buying it, as this can be a big deal breaker. Perhaps there are ways of managing it by installing a narrower seat in a taller position and somehow moving the pegs, but I feel it's key to first try and see if this is something that's fine for you or not, and then come up with a backup plan. Number 4 is oversensitive traction control that rarely lets you use the bike's full performance capabilities, especially in the first gear, as it cuts power very reliably. That is actually quite annoying and appears to me as some issue with software or just a very conservative attitude towards safety. On the other hand, better this way than the other, I feel, so alright. However, it's in my opinion not tuned properly simply. Then we've got weak wind protection on the 5th position. This applies to the stock windscreen, so perhaps it would make sense to beg Husqvarna to take even more of your money and give you a taller windscreen in exchange. The bike doesn't allow for any adjustment of a windscreen, so it is far from perfect in this area. Now, I feel there is something either about the strange sitting position or the traction control panicking that makes me not entirely confident on this motorcycle, despite almost everything in terms of handling, in terms of suspension, powertrain working pretty well alone, separately. This is strange, but I couldn't get over the feeling that the bike is not fully under my control and it can fall at any time when I attempt to proceed with any sort of maneuver. It's hard to define a definite reason for it, I just feel out of place on it. That was number 6. While number 7 is that if you think you can take it off-road, you can. For example, thanks to very large ground clearance, but standing on the pegs will have you bent forward like a cooked spaghetti. It's like on most motorcycles within the segment, but Norden looks like it was highly dedicated for off-roading in terms of, well, the way it looks. And even I myself believed Husqvarna until I sat on the bike and then stood on the pegs, or rather tried initially. And the last point on my list of cons refers again to the design, but from another perspective this time. It's that when looking at the Norden, I cannot stop seeing an old Honda Transalp from 2010s. Similar shapes and that front light make it resemble Transalp so much that it may be quite confusing, I feel. I personally don't really like a very different motorcycle from another brand looking so much like something else from the past, from yet another manufacturer, as it may feel like stealing the identity even. Now let me know how you feel about what I mean here, guys. These are all the points and it's up to you to decide which ones are the most important to you, and I hope that now you know what to pay the most attention to when testing Norden. Do watch my full review of it to see where it is all coming from. It's linked in the description, and do subscribe for the next pros and cons and comparisons of motorcycles within this segment.